Hi, and welcome back. This is the third video of a 4-set video series. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be applying the mask or the plaster strips that we have already cut. During this video, my expectations are going to be very simple. Again, I expect you to be doing some active listening. In your sketchbook, I want you to draw or write down the process of how this mask is going to be applied, all the way from the materials that are being used to the paper towels and the water and the bucket and everything in between. So let's get our pencils ready. Oh, one more thing. If you need to pause it, by all means pause it. If you need to rewind it, rewind it. Now, let's get started. So today, when I look over here, I've got all my plaster strips ready. Notice I have paper towel underneath my plaster strips. I've got my thin strips here. I've got my larger strips here as well. From there, I've got my bowl of water. In my bowl of water, the very most important thing is that the water is warm, not cold. If the water is cold, it will not activate properly with the plaster strips. If it's warm, the plaster strips will be easier to smooth out and they'll dry faster for you. Over here, I now have what I like to consider my victim. I mean my student, excuse me, my student. He's a younger student, he's not quite a high schooler yet. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to apply the paper towel to my student. Sorry, I keep calling you a victim. Not a victim, but a student. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that the paper towel covers up my student. And really what I want to do is protect the area around. If you're the one that's going to be getting the mask put on, I would advise you to have, if you're a female, pull your hair back, make sure that it's out of the way. If you're a boy with long hair, same thing. If you have short hair, it really doesn't matter. And from that point, if you wear makeup or anything to that extent, maybe you don't want to wear your makeup that day, I guess that's up to you. So now applying the paper towel to protect the face. Normally when you do something like this, if it's done correctly, what you would really do is put Vaseline to the face, then put those plaster strips directly to the face. However, this is high school. We're not here to make any movie product stuff. So what we're gonna do is do the best we can with what we've got, and we're gonna try to keep it so it's not that messy. Now, what I wanna do is if I look, I've got all of this area open. I wanna cover up the shoulders as well as the chest area. So what I'm going to do is take one of these strips just like this. Notice that they're long. I'm gonna come over here and I'm gonna tell my student, my partner, sit up for a second, please. And I'm gonna place these strips on an angle by their shoulders. If I did this right and I measured correctly, go ahead, come back down. I should be able to take these two strips without even having to touch the partner and have it cross their body. Now everybody's different in size. Apparently this particular high school is still, a high school student still trying to grow. So he hasn't quite his growth spurt just yet, but you know what, we'll make this work. Then I also want to cover the chin area. So I will take one of these pieces and I'll come underneath. Now notice it doesn't quite fit comfortably. So what I do is I rip like a horseshoe, just like so. This piece here, do not throw away. Save this piece. You're going to use it to cover the mouth. Now, I'll take this, and this should fit snug underneath the chin. Covering the shoulders and everything else is good. Now, the next part I need to do is cover the face. So now I'm going to tell my partner, do me a favor, close your eyes, keep your mouth slightly open, and start breathing through your mouth. By him doing that, he's going to be nice and relaxed, and I can come back with some paper towels and I'm going to cover his face. And again, I'm just ripping the paper towel, setting it over his head. Now I like, keep your eyes closed please, I like to go a little bit above the forehead. And I like it so it covers up the ears. So you're going to have to kind of measure your partner's face and make sure that it fits properly. This one sheet really will cover most of his face. What I want to do is I'm going to do two things. I'm going to cover his nose like this with the paper towel. Then I'm going to put something over the chin. I'm going to use kind of a smaller piece like so, to go around the chin, kind of tuck in like this. Now, what I've done in the past, and you can do this too, is I will sometimes get this wet so it will bend towards the chin and it's not a problem and it'll sit in there a little bit nicer. So I know that right now when I'm doing this, I'm in a good position. Once I get started, I really want to measure out, and again, this is warm water. So I'm just dabbing it down. He's going to get wet. You can't help that. So he's going to get wet. This is dabbed down, and I feel pretty confident in what I've done. Now, what I have to do is he's here. I'm going to take my plaster strip. This part's very, very important. Before I put it in the water, I'm going to measure his head. When I do this, obviously, this strip is a little bit too big for his head. So I need to trim this strip down. So what I will do is I will just kind of pull it off to the side. I want it so it's at his ear, and I can feel his ear here. And then notice I'm keeping my finger right here, okay? And I'm gonna hold that there, and I'm just gonna cut this. I'm not gonna get rid of these pieces because believe it or not, this is a great piece for the mouth. But now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna measure, just by holding it, the strips that will fit his face. So I want at least 4 strips for the forehead at this length. Right now I have 2. 3. 4. As you can see, I kind of pre-cut some of these already, so we would be ready to go. Okay, now that I've got these strips done, I have 6 of these strips cut total. Yours might vary based off of the size of your head. Could be 6, could be 4, could be 8. You have to make sure that you pre-measure your partner's head. I would say no less than 3 to 4 strips for the forehead, because the next technique that we're about to do is super important. It's what we call a horseshoe, and you're gonna wanna write this down. A horseshoe is, we're gonna start from the forehead and then horseshoe underneath the chin. And I'm about to demonstrate this process right now. I'm gonna take my plaster strip from corner to, or edge to edge, and I'm going to run it through the bottom of the water. My hands will get wet, and I don't want to drench it, I just want to get it wet. And then I'm going to lay it across my partner's head, and I'm going to lightly smooth it out. What I'm doing while I'm smoothing it out is I am making sure that there's not a lot of little bubble holes that you see in the plaster strip. I will come back and repeat this process, and I'll do this twice on the forehead by overlapping. So when I overlap, that is going to give integrity to the mask. Great word, great question. What do you mean by integrity? It's going to keep the mask hard, and it's going to make sure that the mask can hold up and withstand when I pull it up. Notice this one's a little bit longer. I want to have these longer ones because this is where the horseshoe comes into play. As my partner is breathing through his mouth and not his nose, I'm going to horseshoe underneath his chin. By coming underneath the chin, I wrap it around. It is okay if I've got little devil horns here. I can cut those off. For you guys in high school, yours aren't probably going to work out this nicely. You might end up having it shorter on one side than the other. If that happens, you just overlap. I'll do a demonstration of one that overlaps. I'll take a smaller one, and I'll start from the top. And again, I'm going to come underneath the chin, but notice it doesn't come all the way up. It stops. That's okay. Because now what I'm going to do is I'll come back and do the same thing from the other side. And I'll overlap. I'll start from the top. I'll come around. Notice how I walk it underneath. I walk it underneath, and then I smooth it out. And I smooth it out. So now what I want to do is I've got 3 strips that are horseshoed, and I got 2 strips going over the forehead. But I want to now start alternating my strips. One forehead, one horseshoe. Another forehead, another horseshoe. So now I'm going to come back, and actually I'm going to start from the top again. I like to do this just so that I know that the mask will be sturdy when I pull it off his forehead. And now I'm going to continue working down. I'm going to do one more horseshoe because, to be honest, I don't think I'm going to need too much more than that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come directly underneath that chin. And the reason that this is so important underneath is that eventually I'm going to have to pick up this mask. And I'm going to have to lift it off my partner's, and I'm actually going to go underneath a couple more times. And what I realized is as I was smoothing this out, I realized that it's very thin underneath the chin, and I don't want it to feel thin. I want it to feel a little thick. So I'm going to do one more horseshoe, and that should be good enough. But I cut out plenty of strips, so I'm not worried right now of running out of strips. And again, I'm just going to smooth it out. And as the plaster starts to dry, it'll start to harden. Now what I'm going to do is work down on the forehead. And eventually I'm going to start getting to his eyes. You want to be pretty careful around the eyes. All right, you don't want to really poke your partner right in the eyes. As I can see, as I lightly push down, I can get the shape of my partner's eyes. And now I'm going to continue with my plaster strips. I'm not going to worry about alternating now because I have enough horseshoes, and I feel very confident that I can just keep going down with my plaster strips, and my mask will be nice and hard when I need it to be. Now, I do have some longer strips, so what you're going to see me do is cut some of these strips in half, only because he's got a smaller face, and I'm going to go around his nose just a little bit. I can do this while I'm working on the mask. Notice I'm taking my time too. I don't need to rush right now. This isn't the time to rush. This is the time to take your time and to make sure that you're doing your partner justice by applying these strips, because you're going to want them to make sure that they have everything, they do the same thing for you. All right, now I have his nose partially covered, and what I want to do is I want to take some of my smaller strips from over here, and I'm going to cut those strips. And I'm going to cut them in half. Now the good news about while I'm waiting for this, as I'm cutting this in half now, is that the mask is starting to harden, and we're getting a chemical reaction between the plaster and the water. And now what's going to happen is, as that hardens up, it's building up the strength for me to be able to pull it off of his mouth when that time comes. So I'm going to pre-measure this, and again, see how long this is? I don't need it that long. So again, I'm going to cut this in half one more time. Now for some of you girls out there, this is almost like getting a facial. So you should just enjoy the process, stay nice and relaxed, enjoy the warm water, and I don't know, take a nap. High schoolers, you love to take naps in class, and this is your opportunity to nap. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to horseshoe the nose. So what I did to the chin is what I'm doing to the nose. And the reason that I'm horseshoeing this nose is I want to get the dimension of his nose. So again, my partner's breathing through his mouth. He's not trying to breathe through his nose. He's staying nice and calm. He's relaxing, and I'm just building these strips on his nose, and it looks really, really good. Now, I'm allowed to do this right now, so you understand this isn't really a victim. This is my son, so I can do this. I'm not breaking any rules or laws or anything like that. Just doing what any father would do to a loving son. Think of it as an early Mother's Day gift. Your mom's going to love this, son. All right, so now during this time, I'm going to put one more strip over here. I never want the horseshoe just to end here. So I'm going to take a smaller plaster strip, just like this, I'm gonna cut this one in half. And a lot of this, I'll be honest, is I eyeball some of this because I've done this for so long, I kind of have an idea of what I'm doing and I know how this works. Practice makes perfect. Well, I take that back. Perfect practice will make perfect. Now, this mask is starting to harden up. And I know it's starting to harden up because I can actually physically move the mask. I'm still gonna let this dry a little bit. And during this time, I'm actually just gonna kind of clean up certain areas, you know, clean up a little bit of the plaster so it doesn't get in this person's hair too much. And then I'm gonna start preparing to do the mouth. As I prepare to do the mouth, and I always do this, but as I prepare to do the mouth, I'll take my strip that I made for the mouth. As you can see, it'll fit nicely over his mouth. Either way, I can use it, but it'll fit. If for some reason it doesn't fit, well, you take more paper towel, just rip a piece. You can always fold it and just put it over the mouth like so. Now, if your partner has complete anxieties for the mouth, I would advise you then probably not to do it. But remember, you're going to need to talk to me about that prior. So if there are anxieties about you putting something on your face, or maybe you have anxieties of being claustrophobic, that's fine. That is okay. You can always find somebody to do the mask for you. And then maybe you just make 2 masks on your partner if you're the one that has the problem. If you're not the one that has the problem, you're just going to have to be the person underneath it. But you're still going to be required to make a mask. All right. Now, whether it's your face or not, that is going to be upon a conversation between you and me. All right. So now this is hardening up. I can pick up the mask, which will be plenty of room for him to breathe, and then I'll have to put the mask down. Now, here's the biggest thing: is I'm going to tell my partner, make a fist on your chest, so that fist is pointing upwards like this. When I see the thumb up, that means, hey, I need air. But he's not going to put the thumbs up right away when he needs to breathe hardcore. He's going to give me at least 10 to 15 seconds before he really truly needs to breathe. So that allows me to put the plaster strip down. It allows me to grab the mask and pick it up and go from there. All right. Now, when you breathe out, please do not, make sure we're panned up on me. Please do not go. That is horrible. You could actually ruin your mask. When you breathe out, you want a nice, easy breath out. That should be plenty and that should be fine. Again, we want to make sure that we take a good breath in. All right? We're about to start the process. So now, over here, I've got all my strips ready to go. I've got the piece that I'm going to use to cover the mouth. Okay? And then from there, I'm going to, please put your hand down. I know you're nervous, you'll be fine.
No, just tell me
And then when I'm ready to do it, I'll let everybody know what's going on. So again, I just want to make sure that everything's fine. Okay. So now what's going to happen is this. I'm going to tell my partner, please make a fist on your chest. Don't cover it up, please. Just one fist on your chest. Then I'm going to set the paper. I'm going to tell him to take a deep breath. Shut your mouth. And here I go. My goal is to get one good strip right now before I have to pick the mask up. Now, I know this kid, so I'm going to make sure that he can breathe now so we don't have any problems. So now, I'm going to tell him take a good breath.
Right now?
Yep, take a deep breath. All right, he's down. I'm going to try to get one more strip in. I'm going to gently pull the mask up so he can breathe. Now, I've got the mask pretty much off of his head. So this gives him plenty of opportunities to breathe. It's not, he's perfectly fine. I still have about 4 more strips to do. Deep breath. Okay, one more. I'm not sure if you need to take that big of breaths, but that's okay. So I dropped this one. I've got to reposition this. Sometimes that happens. And I've got about one more. So keep breathing nicely right now. So notice that when the mask is hard, I'm able to pick it up. And that's fine, so he can breathe normal. The biggest thing is I want to try to sculpt his lips as best as I can. Take a good breath. So I don't need any more plaster strips. Notice I'm just sculpting, and we are done. And here is the end of the mask.